Dear learners, a very nice evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining me in this live class of week 11. And we are supposed to end the poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, by discussing part 3 out of 3. Me, Faisal Ahmed, faculty member, Department of English, World University of Bangladesh. So let's begin. So this is a very complex poem and one of the masterpieces of the modern literature, which is written by Thomas Stearns Eliot. The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Inside, we are just trying to go inside the poem. So the central theme or the major idea of the poem is the inaction or passivity. Okay, and we have found this concept throughout the whole poem, with indecision, with hesitation, with confusion, with lack of confidence, and other things like this. So why? Because Mr. Prufrock, by representing a modern man and through a very little or simple idea of love or love song, he actually conveys the undersurface meaning or the undersurface purpose of this poem, that modern people are lonely, they're indecisive, and they're actually living in a society which is like hell. And Mr. Prufrock is like Guido da Montefeltro, who is mentioned in the epigraph of this poem, taken from Dante Alighieri's Inferno. Okay, so Prufrock is telling us, the reader or the audience, and Guido da Montefeltro, who is everlasting hell dweller, tells his story to Dante. Okay, so here we can see a resemblance between Mr. Prufrock and the character in the Inferno, Guido da Montefeltro. Okay, created by the Italian writer Dante Alighieri. So Mr. Prufrock is a very lonely modern man who has achieved so many modern, advanced, luxurious, materialistic objects, but he has lost all the natural riches. That's why he is trying to get back to nature by suiciding, whether still he hesitates to committing suicide or not. So even he can't express his love towards the women whom he see come and go, and whom he see visiting the coffee shop where he also visits. So there are so many lacks that Mr. Prufrock is feeling about him, and that's why he just wants to go back to the primitive era and just again reconnect himself with nature, reconnect himself with nature. So he don't want the language which actually fails to express his love and emotion and romantic expression towards his beloved. So here the first person I that is mentioned in the poem, the first person is represented by Mr. Prufrock, and you can be mean two person here, as we are not sure actually, and that is not clearly mentioned or clearly explained in the poem, not even for a single time. That is you. I mean, maybe Mr. Prufrock's beloved, imaginative beloved, or maybe, I mean, his partner, or maybe someone like us, reader, or the audience, or the listener who is listening to the story, or the inner thought, or the inner feeling of dismay and sadness, okay, disappointment, what is feeling Mr. Prufrock, okay. So that is which he's sharing throughout the whole poem from the beginning to the end. So in this lesson, week 11 live class, we will learn part 3 of the poem, and with part 3 discussion, we are going to finish the poem. And next week, we are going to learn a new writer's or new poet's poem, that is Do Not Go Gentle into the Good Night, and the poet is Eliot Thomas. Okay, so in this week, we are going to discuss part 3 from line number 99 to 131 with critical commentary on the poem. That already some I have discussed very beginning. Okay, so before that, we are going to learn a difference between soliloquy and monologue, which are also literary techniques or tools used in poetry and drama. In the previous week, we learned the difference between monologue, dramatic monologue, and interior monologue. And in this week, we are going to learn the difference between a soliloquy and a monologue. Soliloquy normally used in drama, and the monologue usually used in poetry, like this poem, The Love Song of Alfred Prufrock. Right. Okay, so let's explain what's the difference. So a soliloquy, in a soliloquy, a speaker speaks to himself, talks to himself, okay, without any idea of any listeners, or there is no presence of any listeners, but the audience can listen to the characters in a dramatic scene. Whereas monologue is also the same thing, in which the character talks or speaks to himself or herself, but this person, I mean the character, has an idea that someone is listening to his feelings and thoughts that he is or she is expressing. That's the difference. So in a soliloquy, there is no, we will find no listeners, and in a monologue, we will find a listeners. That's the difference. So listener is absent in soliloquy and listener is present in a monologue. But the audience, what the audience in a theater, they can learn the inner thought of the character who expresses thought in a soliloquy. In a drama and in a monologue, already I have explained that there is also listener, audience, and the speakers. So monologue, the meaning from the Greek word monos, meaning single, and legein means speak, is a speech given by a single person to an audience. For example, Mark Antony delivers a well-known monologue to the people of Rome in Shakespeare's drama or play Julius Caesar. You probably know how it starts. Here, Mr. Mark Antony, the character, okay, intends the listener, the countryman, or the citizen of Rome. So now, listen to the monologue here. That is said by Mark Antony in Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil that men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones, so let it be with Caesar. So now you're going to learn what is monologue. I mean, an example of soliloquy. From the Latin souls mean alone. I mean, the same meaning, just like monologue. And loqui means to speak. So the same thing. Okay, still from the source of the word, we also get the same meaning. Okay, soliloquy and monologue. So very little difference. The soliloquy is a speech that one gives to oneself. In a play, a character delivering a soliloquy talks to herself or himself, thinking out loud as it were, so that the audience better understands what is happening to the character internally or inside his mind, that he or she is making a plot or a scheme. The most well-known soliloquy in the English literature appears in Shakespeare's another play titled Hamlet in Act 3, Scene 1. Okay, so let's listen to that Scene 1 of Act 3 in Hamlet. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing in them. So here, the Prince Hamlet, the Danish Prince Hamlet, expressed his confusion that whether it's true or false, it's right or wrong, that whether I should kill my uncle or not. Okay, who? Whether I'm not sure whether he had killed my father or not. So Hamlet was an avenger in the play, but he was not sure whether his uncle killed his father or not, whose father was the king of Denmark. Okay, in the play by Shakespeare titled Hamlet. So now we have reached the text of part 3 from line number 99 to 104, sorry, 131. Okay, in total. That's here 104. So of the poem, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. So, and would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile after the sunsets and the doorways and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and these and so much more? So here Mr. Prufrock telling us, the audience or the partner who is walking along with him in the lonely street at the time of twilight or dusk, at the end of the day, that would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worth it? Actually, what he's thinking about, whether he should tell us or not, even in that case, he also feels confusion. He also hesitates to tell us actually what is going on inside his mind. That means throughout these lines, Mr. Prufrock repeated the same thing, that he has a fear. He is scared of expressing himself. And even the modern civilization which gifted the language, okay, to him, even though he can't express himself in that language. That's why this line actually expresses hesitation, okay, confusion. Would it have been worthwhile after the sunsets and the doorways? Here the time is explained that, I mean, this time or that time, okay, or this place or that place, like this. So after the novels, after the teacup, that means after reading a novel, or after the teacups, okay, the modern people normally, to apply their knowledge, they normally get knowledge from books. They read novels, learn so many things, and they try to apply in real life, but in most of the cases they fail. So the same thing happens in case of Mr. Prufrock, that we have found throughout the whole poem, even in these lines. And the central theme is repeated and repeated throughout all the lines that have been expressed by the speaker of this poem. So trail along the floor, and these and so much more. Here at the end of the line number 102, that after the skirts, here again by the dress skirt. Skirt is a female dress. He again indicates female, okay, whose skirts so long that trail along the floor, and these and so much more. So many things regarding love affair, which also already the striking title of the poem, the love song, and the other things about which modern men feel anxious, feel hesitated, or feel confused about. So modern men achieve so many things, but they are deprived of the spiritual and natural essence. Though they achieved material objects, luxurious things, technological devices, or social networking sites like Facebook, YouTube, and other TV channels or other things, but they are actually getting distant from the nature and natural riches and natural resources. So actually that's, I think, Mr. T.S. Eliot is trying to tell us. And the whole poem is an irony. Whole poem is an irony. And throughout the whole poem, Mr. Eliot mocks the modern people, that the modern people actually, they are civilized, but they are deprived of natural essence or natural peace and happiness. And they are making distance from nature. And they are going closer to the artificial things. So stanza 14, line number 105 to 110. But as if a magic lantern threw the knobs in the turns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning toward the window should say, that is not it at all, that is not what I mean at all. So again and again, Mr. Prufrock is confusing us as well. He himself is confused, and he again making us repeatedly confused as well. I mean, the readers and audience who are reading the poem and listening to the message conveyed by Mr. Prufrock, the central character and the only character identified in the poem. So, but as if a magic lantern. So here, Mr. Prufrock is imagining a magic lantern or something like Aladdin's lamp, okay, which will magically, okay, make his wishes come true or give him some courage to express his inner thoughts, which he actually feels fair to express, that may disturb the universe. So would it have been worthwhile? Again, the same line repeated here. If one's settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl, here the women, just the easygoing women who are actually very easy to man and very easily they make physical affairs with male people, okay? So this type of lady and this type of lady are very easily available in Europe and America. And the modern people, modern men also get them easily. I mean, they get physical affairs or physical relationship, but they are loser in a sense of spiritual love, in a sense of spiritual connection, okay, which actually happens between a male and female souls, okay. They can actually get bodily pleasure, but they are missing the spiritual, heavenly, or soul, I mean the pleasure which is connected to soul, okay. So physical pleasure is somewhat different and somewhat separated from the soul, solely connected pleasures. Solely connected pleasure, we can find peace, whereas physical relation can only give you physical pleasure, but that will fail to give you a mental peace and happiness or satisfaction, spiritual or heavenly satisfaction that normally a husband wife get, or a true couple, loving couple get. Even in our society, husband and wife, they only actually commit physical affairs, and even they miss the spiritual or soully connection, okay. For the society or religion, they maintain, okay, relationship under a single roof, in a single room, okay, or in a single flat or apartment, but they miss the soully connection. Why? Because they don't love each other spiritually. They only maintain a relationship only for society and only for religion. So that's the thing I think Mr. T.S. Eliot trying to say throughout the character Mr. Prufrock, with a very simple and trivial matter or object or concept, which is love song or the romantic thing. And turning toward the window should say that is not it at all. Again, he says that is not it at all. Actually, this is not what I'm trying to say. Mr. Prufrock is telling us, okay? That is not what I mean at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet. Again, he is saying that he is not Prince Hamlet. But ironically, he is comparing himself to Prince Hamlet, who is also hesitating and who is also not sure whether his uncle killed his father or not. So in the case of Prufrock, he is actually not sure whether he will commit suicide or not. Whether he will express his love or emotion towards his beloved or not. So these things he is also confused about. Am an attended Lord, one that will do to soil progress, start a sins, a two, advise a prince, no doubt an easy tool, differential, glad to be of use. I grow old, I shall wear the buttons of my trousers rose. In these two lines, Mr. Prufrock is very sad and he expressing his melancholy, sadness and disappointment about his aging, that he is growing old and he is losing his youth and young age. He has already reached his middle age and now he is going closer to the old age. Okay, so here he actually express a lament that he is losing his youth. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk up on the beach. So here the youth or young people actually normally do it. They brush their hair behind and they eat peach or something romantic, nuts or something like that with their couple, and they wear white flannel trousers and walk along the beach, sea beach, like Cox's Bazar. So he is just imagining these things, but he has failed to do this. As a modern man, he is very busy, he is confused, he got so many physical relationships, but he never got actual and true love from any women. And also in the modern society, he actually feeling that he is living in hell. Okay, that's why, like the character Guido da Montefeltro, who is mentioned in Inferno by Dante. So I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. So here Mr. Prufrock has mentioned mermaids, Jolpuri ba Jolkonna, so Motsokonna. So I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. That means mermaids are singing each to each, but even he is confused that whether mermaids will sing to him or not, whether mermaids will sing for him or not. Okay. So actually here through this line, there are so many things can arise. One thing is that he is confused. The other thing is he actually wishes to connect to the nature. Again, he go to the primitive life rather than the modern life which he is leading now. That's why he is taking a decision to commit a suicide. And then again, just he will be melted into the nature and be connected with nature again and again. So, but still in that case, he is also confused. Okay. I do not think that they will sing to me. So in this line, he expresses his confusion, hesitation, and also lack of confidence. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, that modern people actually, whether they wish or not to go to the close of nature, even they fail to do that, only because of the busyness of the modern society and the urban life. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. So here, in a metaphoric way, he actually aesthetically expresses the situation of the water and the waves of the sea, okay, that we experience while we go to Cox's Bazar or any other sea beach. And that is also alluding or referring to the primitive life when people live near the sea beach and they are not civilized, but they lived closely to the nature, to the sea, to the forest. But now the modern people living inside or living with technology, living with technical devices, living in the concrete building, okay, that is very far away from nature. Living, they are spending time at home in the concrete building. They also spending their time at office, which is also concrete building. And all the things actually separated from nature. They are watching television, they are watching YouTube video, and all the things they are just seeing on the screen, but they are not observing and experiencing those same things by going very close to the nature. So that is actually conveyed throughout this line, which is actually the undersurface meaning. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea by seagulls wreathed with seaweed red and brown till human voices wake us and we drown. Here Mr. Prufrock again, the mermaid or the seagulls he mentioned here, and actually the beauty of nature. Just by the seagulls or mermaids, he actually expressing the beauty of nature, and he also expresses his wishes that he wants to go to the close of nature. And again, till human voices wake up. That means human voices wake up means this is a civilization, okay? I mean, it's a meaning that conveys civilization, human civilization. I mean, modern people, once upon a time, they lived in the forest like the primitive man, and now they are civilized, they are modern, they have a language to communicate, okay? After getting so many things, even they are unhappy and they are leading very disturbed life. So the same thing happens to Mr. Prufrock. He actually not feeling good living in the modern society, though he got so many material objects and luxurious things, but he is not happy, and he actually the society seems to him like a hell. Okay, so that's why he says that till human voices wake up. That means he wants to go back to the primitive life while languages was not developed. Human languages was not developed for communication, and technological development, genic transformation, and other infrastructural development were not happened. So that primitive life he wants to go back to, and he wants to enjoy the real natural riches instead of materialistic riches in the modern society. So that's the end of the poem throughout this 131. So here the commentary begins. The original title of this poem was in the love song of Alfred Prufrock. It was Prufrock among the women, directly indicate that the love and romantic things that actually Mr. Prufrock is feeling the most lack, okay, or the most scarcity. We are glad Eliot changed his mind about this original title, which sounds like a terrible, somewhat peculiar 1950s musical. Okay, Prufrock among the women. Then he changed it into the love song of Mr. J. Alfred Prufrock. So, but it does tell us that Eliot thinks Prufrock's relation to the fairer sex is at the center of this poem. Love song makes a similar point, but not as directly. So, one thing to know about the title is that it's completely ironic in light of the poem. Even the whole poem is an irony. And the irony is about the modern people and the modern society and the modern civilization and the modern development, infrastructural and technological as well, which is not so much a love song as, so the love song here just, and it's just an excuse, it's just a thing taken as an example to show the hollowness of the modern man, of the modern society, and also the uselessness of the modern civilization and development. Why? Because we are actually gradually getting distant or getting away, more far away from nature, and also the natural resources, natural riches, natural happiness, natural objects, and natural peace. As the depressed ramblings of a lonely, cowardly man. So modern people are cowardly, modern people are lonely, modern people are hesitant, and modern people have lack of confidence in most of the cases. So these ideas are actually together expressed throughout the whole poem, and that's why this poem is considered as a masterpiece of the modern literature. We start the journey in a dark, smelly neighborhood of London. So the time is the dusk, when the day is ending. That means a symbol of hell. Hell is like dark, okay? And the heaven is lighted. So the time is also darkish or hellish. A thick yellow fog circulates around. So fog actually disturbs our views. We can't see all the things clearly while fog appears, okay? Especially during the winter and in the evening time. And that also increases, I mean, the obscureness increases by the addition of what? Addition of darkness, of dusk with fog together. So sort of, so the modern people's life is like dust, fog, and darkness, and also the dusk, okay? So, and modern people's life is very limited. They usually spend most of their life at home, at office, and in coffee shops or restaurants. So their life is very limited. So here another thing also conveyed throughout the poem, that is modern man, actually in most of the cases, they can do any remarkable thing, like Michelangelo, who is mentioned in this poem. Okay, so Michelangelo is a famous artist, sculptor, painter, and poet. So this remarkable person made a mark in his own life, and still after so many years, even hundreds of years, we still talk about him, we still remember him, commemorate this person's activities. Okay, but now most of the modern men spend their life at restaurant, at home, or at office, or among entertainment and media. Okay, so modern men actually do not do any remarkable thing that actually will make them memorable after their death. So that is also another central idea that has been conveyed by Mr. T.S. Eliot, and which is also expressed by the speaker Prufrock in this poem. So their crammed rooms, drinking tea and coffee all day. All anyone seems to do is lie around and grow older. In other parts of the house, people are talking and laughing, and music is playing, but we are not allowed to go in there. Prufrock offers you yet another cup of coffee, and you don't even know what time of day it is. And some people actually haven't got an idea about the time. They are wasting time. Okay, they are sleeping, they are just listening to music or watching movie, drama, or other things, or they're enjoying the life, and without doing any remarkable thing or leaving any mark in their life, they actually reach death. Okay, and immediately after their death, their name fades away. So the major themes appeared in the poem are anxiety, indecision, hesitation, desire, miscommunication and disappointment, modernity and generation gap, society and relationships gap, alienation and isolation, or loneliness, psychological disaster, mental instability, hero worship, and becoming coward, love, and instead of love, they are actually hankering after lust. That is bodily relationship, manipulation, passivity, time, appearances. So these are the major themes explained here, and I think you studied this. So the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, Mr. Prufrock laments his physical and intellectual inertia, or the lacks, the lost opportunities in his life and lack of spiritual progress, and he is haunted by reminders of unattained carnal love. Even he feels that the life is actually meaningless. So if he can't do anything remarkable, then his life also will be meaningless. He came from the zero and he will leave the world with zero. So embarrassment, longing, emasculation, sexual frustration, a sense of decay, and an awareness of mortality. Prufrock has become one of the most recognized voices in modern literature. Lack of self-esteem, that is self-confidence. Prufrock is lacking in self-esteem or confidence and perhaps lost himself. He comparing himself with an insect, which is investigated by the scientist in a laboratory. That we have found in line number 57 and 61, and also 73 and 74. While lowly crustacean on the sea floor have been compared with Mr. Prufrock. Okay, crustacean, that means crabs, kakra. Huh? Okay, the questions, fear of future. Modern people always have fear for futures. That's why they are suffering from indecision. The question continues as the narrative progresses. An echo of the scene from dainty. Will Prufrock have the courage to act? Will he have the strength to force the moment to his crisis? He makes us think that he has sacrificed much to get to this point in his life. He has fasted, prayed, wept, afraid for the future. Fear of rejection. That is another drawback or inertia of the modern people. Fantasy versus harsh reality. So they are living in a harsh reality like hellish life, and they are only imagining in a fantasy or daydreaming. So T.S. Eliot's intention is to mock the modern people and convey them a message that they should get back to the nature and leaving the modern artificial and materialistic things. And that's the end of my discussion in this week. And the rule of fate versus humans' actions to create it. So human beings, especially the modern people, only depends on fate. But Mr. Eliot's message is not to depend on fate, rather create it. So that's the end of today's lesson, and thank you very much. Here I'm gonna stop the recording.